Welcome to Exploring the Ozarks, where we tell the history and stories of locations, places, and people that make up the area. Here's Matt. I still like you, Matt.
Thank you. I'm really happy that we still have the audience in the background there. That's our 10,000 seat audience. But no, thank you.
It's all about you.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to Exploring the Ozarks. We are here with a fabulous guest that we've been chasing for a while, and now we are blessed that he spent his day in Springfield with us. So Danny Collins with 37 North Expeditions, thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for having me. Anytime I get to talk to people out the outdoors, it's a great day.
Well, that's what we're all about. You know, I mean, we just dropped a really cool piece that we talked about before this about the James River that, the reason why I like going out to the James River, because it got a bad name over the last, 30 years, with the expansion of all these little cities around. There was a lot of things that ended up in the river that made it dirty and a lot of other things. So
that's pretty typical with industrialization, right?
Well, yeah, but
unfortunately,
it got the bad rap of being called the dirty old James, and people are always very worried about getting in it and things like that. So we're kind of trying to make it feel like it's a safe space and how pretty it really is, because the bluffs really can rival some that you see on the Buffalo.
Yeah, we were pretty impressed down there.
Yeah.
Where were we at?
We were at H.L. Kerr to
H.L.
they
Kerr.
call Cox or Y Bridge in Galena.
So there's a couple bluffs we went by that were pretty impressive.
Huge bluffs. I mean, you're talking 300 some odd foot bluffs.
And if you want to see these bluffs, go check out Matt's Moments.
There it is. Thank you for that. And we'll have more of those too. That's really our main reason we started this, was to be able to do that type of stuff and help people explore. But we started it in January, and so there wasn't really much opportunity to go out and explore things because it was just super cold this winter.
Well, and part of exploring is knowing the stories, hearing the stories from people around here, like Danny's that we're going to hear about here shortly. So that was always a big part of it too. But I'm definitely excited about doing more of this on the water and hiking, and you have a couple of really cool places that you want to go visit, like some old abandoned mansions. You guys should all be looking forward to that, because Matt, of course, is a great storyteller, which is why this all works. You can tell the history and story of these
trying
places.
To work on it, because there is a lot of history in this area that we don't really explore, going all the way back to Native Americans and things like that I
You've told me some
typically
good
talk
stories
about
that.
But the cave systems, things like that. But we're here today with Danny because Danny literally explores the Ozarks much more than we do. So Danny, thanks again for being here, by the way. We appreciate it. We'll get into what 37 North Expeditions is here in a second, but I'm going to go ahead and let you talk about Patreon real quick.
Patreon. Hey.
Everybody has it.
If you're not a business and you don't want to be giving us $300-$400 a month, I mean, if you want to, go ahead. But if you only want to give us, $5, $10, $25 a month to help us with our mission of exploring the Ozarks and continue to do this sort of, meet and greet with Danny or with other guests, then go to Patreon. It's really easy to sign up, and you can, give us $5, $10, $25. You'll get some cool stuff with that. You'll get early access to some things on our Patreon site. As we develop more merch, we'll start handing out some merch.
There you go. The conversations that we have
other things,
before the show starts. He's been in the habit of hitting record before anything ever happens. So we do get some really cool stories out of people. So it's kind of neat to see that.
Not saying a lot of them are up there, but we're working in that direction.
Once we get enough people on there to be able to do that, they're really going to enjoy it, I think.
Yeah.
So
currently we have 3 Patrons, but if you want to be number 4, go sign up right now.
3's better than 0.
Yeah. There's I'm not going to say there's a link right here below me right now, but there's probably a QR code or something. I don't know.
Well, you'll see it. Don't worry. It's called editing.
There we go.
But that's just a way for you guys to get attached to us for what we do. If you guys ever have any ideas for us too of little gems that need to be explored or whatnot, we've explored a lot. I mean, my gosh, go back in our episodes, and the River Access Coalition that helps keep Linden Lure open to the public, keep it clean.
The River Dogs.
And the River Dogs, we got to meet on the river. I got my leg peed on by somebody, and I got a sticker for it, so it was cool. That's the type of stuff you might see on Patreon.
Or did that happen? Please go watch the video and find out.
Exactly. But today this is super exciting for me, because me and Danny talked a while back, because I also have a nonprofit that I started that we're not going to get into that part of it today, but at some point Danny opened his heart to me, and I really appreciated that. That's still a work in progress, because I am a solo dude that has a regular job and now all of this as well. But and I have a lawyer that was like, slow down. We got a lot of things to work out on this one, but I do take people hiking and things like that. But Danny does it on a much bigger scale, and not just hiking. So tell us what 37 North Expeditions technically is, and then we're going to talk about how you got the name and all that. So.
Yeah, I mean, technically, I check the box of a guide service. even though I really don't technically like that terminology, I say we curate exceptional experiences.
It's hard when you start a business or any sort of organization to be, because government wants to be like, hey, you have to fit in this exact box.
Right.
It's like, no.
For taxes reasons.
Yep, exactly.
I do like 10 different things with this
legality,
organization.
taxes, insurance.
Oh my
loves
gosh.
that
Rules
too.
too much.
Insurance puts you in the bigger box or smaller boxes.
yes,
I should
they
say.
do.
It definitely does. But.
So I love the way you put that, though.
Yeah, it's all about the experiences. I mean, we talk about my history, I'm sure, and stuff, and the past and what brought us to it. But really, it's just about the concept of curating these exceptionally unique, exceptionally just elevated experiences in the outdoors, with the aspirations of making it simple, convenient, so that you do it more often. It's you know, I have a passion for what we have in our backyard. It's amazing what we have, and I think most people don't get into it enough. And so therefore the kind of mission is, hey, we'll make it simple, make it convenient, let's go see different things together.
Right. And that's exactly
Nice.
what we're doing here. But you're actually, I mean, for lack of a better term, you are the boots on the ground, technically. You're the canoes on the ground. You're the horseback riding on the ground. So how did 37 North Expeditions get its name? Because this is one of the coolest things I've ever heard. Because I've researched you guys before I met with you, and I'm like, where did they get that name? What is it? Tell us what 37 North Expeditions technically. Where did you get the name? And let's go from there.
I love that he thinks it's that cool. I think
I do though. I'm like, God, how did he get this name? It's got to be something with
I will be
latitude,
the
longitude,
judge.
something.
I'll be the judge of it because I haven't heard the story.
Well,
We're gonna find out.
It literally, just to sum it down, it is the latitude of Springfield here. It's the latitude of the Ozarks, and you know, kind of came again back. I'm sure we'll hear my story, but
Kind of wish I had one of those wah.
Yeah. Well,
I actually do like names that have that kind of history.
Well, I did
inside-
move to South America, and it was kind of one of those. I did. Okay, I'm blessing everything. I have a tattoo of home.
Yeah.
And when I moved back for personal reasons, that was kind of that inspirational. So it's
Okay.
got a little more depth to it.
Yeah.
But it is
the depth is bringing
instead
it
of
up.
just saying
Yeah, this is
Springfield
good.
expeditions or Ozark expeditions, it's a little bit.
I will
Much
say
cooler.
this:
That's
I
what it
do
means.
like the
It's
name.
home.
I do like the name quite a bit. That
I
is
do.
very unique, and you're right. Putting Springfield in front of everything just doesn't work.
right. The way he said it when we first met, I was like blown away because it was a little bit deeper dive, you know. But I think maybe you've practiced it a few times now, so it's just
possible.
faster now, right?
Maybe we need the deeper dive. We have time.
Well, you know, it's you think of what is 37, you know, north, you know, that's exactly what it is. That's the longitudinal line of where Springfield is.
does it
and
go
not a lot
right
of
through
people think of that.
Springfield?
Latitude is. I mean, it's not. We're 37.
It's definitely going
North
through the-
something.
Yeah, it's something
Honestly,
close.
I
It's definitely through the Ozarks.
Yeah.
I took. I
Yes.
think I took the 38 all the way to the 36 that they encompass the actual Ozarks. So
Yeah,
I did
yeah.
kind of come into the middle. So
There
it
you
wasn't
go.
meant
That's
to
fine.
be for
Yeah.
Springfield. It was meant to be the middle of the Ozarks.
Right.
I love
It's
that.
actually
That's
the
good.
37 North latitude.
See, that's where it goes a little deeper. See, there we
See,
go.
as you get further, I think you need to tell the story a bit more of the story to impress people some more.
I like
you
it.
know. Just add all those little flavors.
Well, he just came off of a speaking engagement too, so he's probably a little bit tired. But
is that what it is? Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
well, Sir Toma loves having people
I can
come in
get
and
deep
talk.
about
so
other stuff.
Let's
but,
do it then, man. That's what
let's
we're
do
here
it.
to do because honestly, this isn't about just about the business, right? This is about Danny. Danny gave up, and I'll let you tell the story. But you gave up some pretty big things to come chase your dream of doing exactly what you just described to make it easy on people. And I'm in the same boat with this because that's why we go out and explore these places. I mean, the first Matt's Moments we put out that we were on the Finley River was about safety of getting your, everything to the river, how to get on the river, what's the safest way to do it. Those small things that you guys are out teaching that in person pretty much. So let's go through first, as far as what's your why? Let's start there. What's your background? What made you get into this?
All right, now we'll get deep.
Yeah,
Ready
please,
for it?
please do.
No, that goes back. I mean, I grew up here. I grew up in Southwest, even closer to Joplin, little tiny town, but ended up going to high school at Glendale, got my master's in architecture and my MBA at Drury. Really, I went there to play soccer. I don't think I'm hiding that, but the other things were kind of subsequent to that. But
Yeah.
then I moved away. Actually, I took a job in New York City and moved to corporate architecture. Was up there for about 4 years.
Wow.
Worked on some super cool projects though,
impressive.
man.
Yeah, large scale commercial developments, and thought that's what I was going to be doing probably for the rest of my life in a lot of ways. I mean, it was kind of the take that degree and run and do something with it. And But I started guiding on the side. I found a guide service, more traditional guide service up in New York, kind of upstate stuff. Then we got into the
So it's
outside
really
of
pretty
the
up
state.
in northern New York.
Oh man,
I mean,
like the Hudson River Valley all the way up to like the White Mountains. Of course, Adirondack stuff. Yeah, just kind of really it's super quick to get out of the city too. Total side
Interesting.
note. It's really
good.
amazing. Yeah,
Because I don't think a lot of those people really get out of that city much. So you were doing a
easier
service
than
there
you
too. though.
realize. Yeah, it's easier than you realize. But
so like using the train to get out, or
yeah, I
stuff
mean,
like that?
just public transportation in general, but even outside. I mean, just once you get past that island, it really starts to open up pretty quick to nature. So they do a good job preserving up there. But anyways, long story short, I that led to leading some bigger trips. I kind of got in with a group that does some trips out to Kilimanjaro and places like Machu Picchu, and started leading some of that. And slowly but surely, didn't really understand what was happening, but it started to become, man, this is what I love doing, and I'm getting paid to do it. Wasn't getting paid a lot, still not getting paid a lot, but wasn't getting paid a lot at that point in time to do that. But it was actual, wow, this is weird. This is actually making money. And so one day it just clicked with me that best way to put it is I started to surround myself with a job with people that were really happy. And I started to respect that and value that more than I think I really ever understood you could. My other job was great. It was, on a surface level, it was fantastic. But
I'm sure it was intense, though, too.
It was intense. Yeah, it was a
gosh.
cutthroat type of, but I loved that for what it was, and there's no regrets or anything in that. But I'm just saying, I just started to value things slightly different. And so
It's important, though.
it didn't happen as fast as, go ahead.
What is the biggest project you worked on in New York?
The project I was on for most of the time is called Hudson Yards.
Okay. Is that the shipyard or?
It's over the rail yard on
Okay.
the west side. It's the largest real estate project in the Western Hemisphere.
Wow.
Dude, it was-
That actually sounds really intense.
He showed me
It's
some
about how big
pictures.
that
It's
rail yard
super
probably
awesome.
is.
Yeah, it was really, really big. And it was pretty cool to, worked on a few other projects that were overseas, and then got to be on an actual one that, with that world, it was rare to actually even get to be on a project that was coming to life, right?
Right.
In that type of scale architecture, one of the top firms in the world is generally just competitions. And so you're not getting to see things come. A lot of my friends never saw a project actually come to fruition. So it's cool to actually get to see that.
Right.
That's
And I was on it
interesting.
for 4 years. So, but anyways, then just long story short, it didn't happen as quick as I'm making it. There was a whole lot of other kind of processes. There was one failed business attempt of past, lots of little things, sleeping on the couch in New York, not paying rent to try to get something to happen. But then
Wow.
I did a Kickstarter. Yeah, I don't even know if you know I did a Kickstarter.
I didn't know that part now.
Man, yeah, it's weird. I got an email yesterday about that Kickstarter company, and I'm just like,
Uh-oh.
man, I hadn't thought about that in a long time.
What did the email say? I want to fund it?
Asking for connections, and
Okay.
it was weird. Yeah, no, interesting. Long story short, I ended up landing a job with National Geographic. I worked, and I was the expedition manager at one of their unique lodges of the world, just outside of Quito, Ecuador. And so talk about a shift change of life change from New York City to not just South America, but literally I was living at this resort, not just working there, I was living at it.
Right.
About 3-4 hours down a gravel road in the middle of nowhere.
In Ecuador.
In Ecuador. Yeah. So it was a stark change of not only my job, but also just complete and total environment. So,
Wow.
but
That's really cool.
it was fantastic. I think, to kind of speed and touch base, because that job did a lot for me in shaping my views in a lot of ways, in especially the relationship to the outdoors. But the main task of that job was the management of
A resort.
the guides.
Oh, okay.
And
Right.
the management of the experiences, because the people were coming for the experience.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And you better give it to them because they paid a lot of money to do it, too.
A lot of money. More than take what's in your head and double or triple it.
Oh, my gosh. Wow. Wow. But it
Goodness.
is, Ecuador, for God's sakes.
Well, it was just a National
Beautiful
Geographic Lodge
place.
in the middle. I mean, it was worth it in a lot of ways. It really was. It was a beautiful place. But the kind of byproduct job was, how do we get that resort and the other resorts that were in the Nat Geo, which is not as many as you might think,
Right.
portfolio, especially in that Southern America region, to start to be more attractive to a younger clientele, a different traveler. Younger generations, I don't think anybody would argue this, understands the concepts, but we got really deep, or I really got a lot of deep, is like, what is that what are they yearning for? What are they wanting when they're spending their money to go to travel to new places? Because by all, the Nat Geo relationship and kind of, they have a really good reputation based on photography and biology, right? And I mean, it's a really good reputation, but it was not. And you see a lot now that they're pushing towards having that reputation change, but that was a bunch of my tasks, especially for that lodge specifically.
Well, and there's a lot of expectations that go along with that too. And you think it's a National Geographic resort, you're like, oh, I'm going to be fully immersed and it's going to be this super huge experience. So it's a lot of pressure on someone like you to make that happen. So how did that happen?
Well, it was a lot. You're right. I mean, in a lot of ways, it was because you still had all those other successful things. I mean, we'd be flooded with the amazing, incredible biologists and photographers that were coming. That were
how cool is that?
All the time. And so that was part of that clientele. But it was also, just anyways, a shift change and kind of being center focused on that kind of intersection of adventure tourism and hospitality, like high-end hospitality. Yeah. Was a very fun, and I love to live in at that intersection. And so that's a lot of, speaking of what 37 North, the goals of the company are. But, long story short, fast forward, I moved back here in 2017.
So how long were you in Ecuador working with Nat Geo?
I was in only under 2 years.
2 years?
Yeah.
Probably flew by, though.
I mean, cool. But never would have imagined leaving. I mean, we were my wife and I both, at that point, girlfriend. My wife and I were both very happy. She was close to her family. She's Ecuadorian.
I was going to say, she's from Ecuador as well. Cool. So how did you meet her while you were down there? Because she's a super amazing person. So.
Yeah, actually, crazy enough, we went to Drury together.
Okay.
I don't know if you knew that.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
So
it
was one of those, like, kind of when that whole thing happened, it had options of locations, and it just one of those happened to be close to her. I mean, I was living on the resort, so it was not, we were not together when I was at the resort. I had days off, and I was there.
You were closer than you could have been, for sure.
Definitely now, yeah. But no, anyways, I moved back. Unfortunately, my dad became very sick. Diagnosed with terminal cancer. It was brain cancer. It was a bad prognosis. So we moved back kind of, literally immediately, right? And it was kind of one of those, didn't know what to expect, didn't know, needed to be around for family. And so long story short, just decided to, in our mind, put a pause button on life to let that work itself out and be there and kind of shift priorities at that particular point in time.
Glad you did it, though, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You needed to do that. Absolutely.
Absolutely. But I think, and this kind of speaks again to kind of what the core of our business is that the two things that really changed mine and our kind of thought process behind this that really started to inspire the early beginnings of 37 North were, for the first time in my life, I went to the outdoors. I don't think I knew this at this point in time, but I went to the outdoors for mental health. Oh. I went to the outdoors. Before that, I was a mountaineer. Like, I really was chasing the highest summits. Right. The goals were to get above 20,000 feet as much as possible and to go as fast as I can doing things, right?
Pretty hardcore mentality.
Yeah. And so I think when I moved back, that kind of really just changed. I needed to go just see new places, do that to get away from the environment I was in so that I could appreciate the time with my family during that
makes total
kind of
sense.
stage. And so, but that kind of simultaneously parallel to that, we decided to go just see new places, and we just started making a map. And I always joke, if 37 North goes out of business, we could sell our Google Maps of what we have, these places.
Do you actually have maps and stuff too, like I do, where it's pinpoints and trails? I'd love to see it.
You should see the Google Map. It's got, I think, like 1,300 data points at this point in time.
Whoa!
With all sorts of it's fun to all the different layers, because that's the only way that we could understand this kind of, and we'll talk about this, I'm sure. But this kind of get sweaty, get connected, get happy mentality. This something plus social, outdoor activity plus a social activity. Those things have to be in similar proximity. Right. And so that's how we started to layer that together. But that really turned into that. But it was really like, let's just go find new places and do new hikes and see new things. That's when I just like, wow, I took this for granted. And the idea for me was, my dad was a big whitewater paddler.
Oh.
So I was at a very early age. I was probably too early of an age in a way. I mean, the amount of times I've been on the Finley, the James, but maybe even more so the Mulberry or the
Mulberry gets rocking and rolling when it's high up. Yeah.
Or even the Upper Buffalo.
Oh, gosh.
Or, those we lived on.
And all pretty much in the Ozarks. Mulberry's a little bit outside, but it's still right there. Right?
Oh, that's still Ozarks. I mean, I guess.
Like the very southern border, We always say the Ozarks is also just a state of mind, too, so it's there.
I like it. Yeah. But anyways, I mean, that if I took that for granted and I had that growing up, well, then everybody's taking it for granted. And that's kind of that realization of just like, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I remember asking publicly, like I had a chance to speak in some capacity, and I asked everybody raise your hand if you've been to Ponca, Arkansas in here, and he was dumbfounded by the very small amount of numbers of hands. Of people
I've
that I know that are
I've never
going
heard
there.
of that place. What is that?
Ponca? It was right there where Tim Ernst is.
Oh, okay.
Right when I went down to visit with
Next
Tim
to the
Ernst at his
Buffalo.
gallery, it's right there. He's right inside Ponca.
You got some educating to do, Matt.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll be honest here. I'm the one
I'm
that runs
trying,
all the
Danny.
camera equipment, and Matt's the one that knows all about the Ozarks.
Okay, good. All
I
right.
give him coordinates on where to go, and he shows up.
Like
so.
I grew up. I moved here when I was 12, and I grew up like doing Boy Scouts. Like we did some hikes, things, but it wasn't really like super intense.
But like
So,
Arizona,
like, I
and
know how
stuff
to
too,
do things. Like 50, I've done some 50 milers, and I've done canoeing and all that fun stuff. But
He's done some big stuff.
nothing to the extent that you guys are talking.
No,
about.
but he's from Ozarks, so don't
which
worry
is
about
what. Yeah.
That's what happened.
Now.
But no,
Now.
I mean it's fun. I mean it's just kind of like it's that area's that's the epicenter of the Ozarks to me.
I agree.
I mean, I don't think it's fair to say there's anywhere else that would come anywhere rivaling. It's pretty cool. I spent a lot of time there. I'm actually I would say I think it's fair to say I think you'd say is we're very close friends with the owner of Buffalo Lodge Orson now, myself,
man.
and so
Good for you.
down
Good people.
there and we can talk about this probably a little bit, but I was a race director for Expedition Ozark, 5-day adventure race that happened and will happen annually in April. And so kind of that's another way like that. I've learned more about places I never imagined. I mean, we think about the epicenters and then connecting them by foot or by bike. We really got deep into some places, but I was on the Buffalo last year this year. Between the month of April and March, I was on the Buffalo 23 times.
Whoa,
Because I was checking out for the race.
Right.
And I had to get different conditions. But anyways, it's long story short, moved back, got all those, and that really was the foundation of 37 North.
Yeah.
Is that just wanting to share these other places that I think all of us are taking for granted.
Yeah. Where were those places? Where did you focus first, do you think? I mean, it was just kind of like, let's go here. Because to me, it's like...
I gravitated south.
Yeah.
I gravitated to the Ozark National Forest, the Buffalo region, and the Northwest or North Central Arkansas region.
Yeah.
I definitely headed out east. My
11
special
Point.
point is the 11 Point Current. Those are happy places for sure. But I gravitated towards moving south initially, but
Well, it's easier accessible too. I mean, it's easy to get there from here.
it's much more dense in there too.
Yeah.
I mean, you do have lots of great places if Tonka and those places up north, or you head up even toward northeast.
I have been to Tonka.
Hey,
I will say that.
Right.
I feel like I got to.
But the in betweens are a little.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot further drive type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, you
Buffalo's
get
an
down
hour
to
and
that
15
area.
minutes away, right? So
But and it's literally filled with everything in between.
Oh my
There's
God.
a million places. To
there's
stop
100
between.
trails you could go hit at any time.
So anyways, to kind of finish the conversation around, I mean, that was the foundational kind of goals and aspirations of 37. We've expanded, way beyond just what that encompasses, but at the heart of it, everything we do is really essentially, we believe in conservation through education, the concept of that fundamentally you cannot desire to protect a place if you don't see it firsthand. And so that's kind of that's that backing, is that if we get the chance to show newbies, beginners, why they need to protect it, and that protection is a very loose terminology there's lots of different ways to protect. But we're not gonna get that unless you see it firsthand.
No, because once people see it, then it's an immediate attachment. From what I've ever noticed with people I take out that are newbies too, and you're taking them out in groups of people. So I mean, as far as running out of time every time, 37 North let's talk about your platform. How do you put all this together now that you've done this research where you've got 1,300 pins on a Google map of where you've taken people? Now how do you organize that enough to where you get people to be interested in it? Was it pretty immediate that people were like, oh my gosh, this guy takes people hiking and I can do it safely. He's going to show me where to go, how to start it off. And you're kind of educating people on how to do this themselves too as they go. But you guys put a spin on it though. It's not just going out and walking in the woods. So tell us about your platform.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's again, going back to that curation of these exceptional experiences. It's less about a traditional guide service generally has that motto of like, you need me.
Yes.
Right? And that's not really what
you
we're
depend
trying.
on me very heavily, yes.
And there's definitely some things we do that, and there's some level. I say we live in the spectrums really, really well. And by that, I mean the very beginners or the incredible advanced where they need logistics. It's different needs, but we support that next level experience. Anyways, I mean, the way to put it is that is not really where we're focused a lot, is the need. We're, again, that elevate that experience. And so just make it simple, convenient. So the basis of things that started was we're just going to curate these fun experiences. We do the planning. We do everything. Like, you literally show up at Farmers Park and get in our transportation, head out on an experience, and then there's times where people see that we've crossed into Arkansas and they're like, I didn't know we were going to Arkansas today. I'm like, that's a win.
Wow.
That's a win.
That's
right?
something new. That's part of the adventure, man. I love that.
That's exactly the concept, that if you had to do some of that planning and all that other stuff, it might be that hurdle for you to actually get out and see a new place.
Yes.
So that was kind of where it started. And it really was fun just creating these combinations of places to go see that were close together, whether it's two outdoor activities, an outdoor activity plus a brewery tour, or a winery tour, or a cool farm to table dinner, or a weird farm that might be in the middle of nowhere. Like, we found everything that was kind of these prepackaged things. And that's the core basis of the company. That's like the brand of the company. It's just, we have something every Saturday and every Sunday of the year, 12 months a year.
Super cool.
It will always be there, and it'll be that thing you can choose to do that Saturday or Sunday.
So you go back to those same places.
Yeah, I mean,
Same type of experience either way.
Yeah, but a lot of that stuff changes. I mean, our single ticket sales side of that, like, that's what we call that we have 3 silos of our company. And that silo is the single ticket sales. And that's really special because we do have a lot of people that come to solo that. So we serve that purpose, that you come in a group of up to 15 people. You might be alone, but you're going to get to meet people and explore together and be together. So
that's the other half of it.
Socially
focused.
focused.
Yeah, that's the other half of it, though, is you're getting people out together to make their own little support system out of each other, too, and gain some friends along the way, which is huge.
Well, and hopefully encourage them to go out.
Well, because you put people in a group, and a lot of times they don't want to go out and do this by themselves. They don't want to be alone out on a trail either. So having that group mentality is huge for, I'd say, 60, 70, 80% of people that go with you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's definitely a demographic that's like, oh, I would never do that with a group. I don't want to. My goals are to be alone and in nature and stuff. And that's you're probably confident in doing that and kept that capacity. But so we're not everything for everybody, but our goals absolutely were very socially focused. Our aspiration, again, at the end of the day, if you did not have an amazing time, you're not going to want to go back to an outdoor experience. And so our job is, and this is what we talk about with guides, our job is to instill great leave no trace habits, all these kind of things. But at the end of the day, you're just trying to help that person get what they want out of that experience so that they want to do it again and again and again. Because without that, we have not achieved what we're going to do.
Right.
But that's kind of that's where we started.
Right.
And that is a pretty small portion, numbers wise, I guess you could say, of our company now. You know? I mean, last year, for example, so the first 2 years, 2018, 19, was all totally side project. It really wasn't much going on. I had a full-time job. We were just doing this in our spare time and didn't have a whole lot of spare time. And then pandemic comes, and that was a whole really weird first. 2020 was a weird year for us.
Oh man,
I say our business really started 2021. You know? I mean, that was really when we became. I've been full time on this for about 2.5 years. Before that, it was a hobby. It was a side hobby. But that, so for example, in 2022, we had, I think it was like 4,200 people that came on trips with us. So,
wow.
So numbers are bigger than a lot of people really realize, I think.
Jeez.
And it's really because those other 2 segments of the company, and those 2 are youth and corporate.
All right, let's explore that real quick. Which one do you want to go with first? Because to me, the youth is you're starting generations of people now that are going to want to go out and do this type of stuff, and they're going to leave no trace. They're going to learn all these things from you guys. So what are you teaching these kids along the way that's special?
The youth stuff, to me, there's two. I would like to talk about the shortcomings or the gaps that I think we try to fill, and that's where our headspace is at. Number one gap is really about that kind of. Really, fundamentally, you could say it's the Boy Scout, Girl Scout mentality. It's not the same as it used to be. I think that unless your parent was a scout and or you have somebody that was significant in your life, that is just not gravitating towards that to the same degree. So it's becoming a larger separation for you to feel. And therefore, technology is filling that in a lot of ways. And so it's nothing to badmouth a Boy Scout, Girl Scout mentality at all. I just think that what it is it's the gap between. There's not new scouts very often as much,
right?
And I think that has to do with our focus to kind of address that. Is we are way less focused about teaching skills, and we're way more focused. We say we teach connections.
Okay,
so
love that.
We actually have a similar what you might call badge program.
Okay,
but they're different connections in the outdoors.
Yeah.
And so
what kind of connections?
Very simply, different way to put it is that most outdoor youth things you think about are like the goals of it are to teach you to do this, this, and this.
Start a fire, knot tying. Yeah. Great skills to have.
I need to learn how to paddle this day. I need to learn how to ride a bike this day. I need to learn how to shoot a bow and arrow this day. Yada, yada, yada. Right. And by default, you get great connections in the outdoors. You get more comfortable in the outdoors. Right. I know it's really hard to explain this, especially just over voice, right? But the idea is to flip that on the head, is that we focus on just getting more comfortable in the outdoors. The byproduct that you might learn some of those things, but our mission is not to teach those skill sets. Okay. And it is a very different mentality, especially in our curriculum development.
It's just a different angle. It's a different angle.
Yeah. And then the other gap that I could address is team sports is the uber competitive anymore. And this comes from somebody who played collegiate soccer. Right. When's the last time I played soccer? So I have a very dire connection or deep passion for, I'm still exploring the outdoors, but I'm not doing a whole much of those traditional sports, but they shaped me in so many great ways. So how can we apply that to a student that is, I'm not going to play collegiate level A, B, C sport, and so therefore I'm going to pretty much decide not to play it anymore at like 6th and 7th grade because it just gets so competitive.
Yeah, and they're burned out. Yes,
so,
absolutely.
So our mission is to use the outdoors and try to instill some of those same benefits you get from traditional team sports, but to think of it more of a similar setting as a traditional team sport.
Right, but more of a connection to each other versus the team mentality of you're there to win something, right?
Yeah.
So whether you like the person or not is the best part about that, because you might not like anybody on that team, but you've got to trust each other. You've got to like each other at the time.
Yeah.
And you've got to learn off each other.
What are these activities that you would do to instill this sort of team?
Yeah,
because you're not sitting there saying, "Let's go learn how to row a boat." So what?
Yeah, there's lots of different ways to do it. I think that we do a lot of team building activities. We do a lot of this kind of progression of things. Even directly, like we're going to have adventure leagues, and so we'll have them kind of on the world of adventure racing, these multi-sport. Type of things. And so, I would be hard to kind of go into the specifics of exactly what that means, but those are the gaps that we're aiming to fill. Okay.
I love that idea, though.
That are just less kids that are spending time in the outdoors. And here's the two reasons in our mind that we should focus on kind of trying to change that setting.
Right.
So,
once technology took over,
well,
it's a good thing and a bad thing. Yeah. People have computers and cell phones and all that, but it's also like
we embrace technology a lot, though. Yeah. I think it's crazy. I remember a quote I read the other day, or years ago, probably. It's this kind of idea. I think the exact quote was something like, if you're not a technology company in 5 years, you're not going to be a company. Right. And so we do embrace, one of the greatest activities we do, and this is actually kind of that same mentality, is that we do birding.
Oh,
I know that sounds somewhat potentially I don't want to say
mundane.
Mundane is probably a better word than boring, but
it takes a lot of research too.
But it does. And with technology, it really evens that playing field. It makes it more of a palatable for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's
kind of science.
You can actually learn.
A collection.
Yes.
You call them in, you learn,
Yeah.
and so that is something we teach a lot. And it's really that's a way that I don't
guess-
care
I
if
guess
you're
my
walking
point-
2 weeks or 2 miles on a trail, or you're birding 2 miles on the trail. You're going 2 miles on a trail. So
True.
it's fine with triggering in a way of you being more active mentally and physically.
Well,
right?
yeah.
So-
And I suppose my point was that for a long time, people just thought I could just learn this on TV,
Right.
instead of going out and doing it.
Or
So
YouTube.
That combination, that hybrid approach of hey, let's use technology, but let's go out and actually do this still.
Well, and what I really love
I
about
like that quite a
the
bit.
birding aspect of it is because you have to learn to sit and just be too. You know, a lot of times when my kids go from one video to the next on YouTube, but not at any point do they stop, take the headphones off,
Yeah.
and just sit and be. But when you're birding, you literally just have to sit and you have to observe, and you have to observe everything around you. And that really connects you to nature much more than just walking on that trail. So I love that you did that.
Well, there's lots of different ways to look at that. I mean, we do a lot of mountain biking. We are probably at this point in time, Northwest Arkansas is a bigger operation for us. It's probably fair to say, and a lot of that's the biking capital of the world,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And we do
Mecca.
a lot of biking there. But we also try to pull that away. There's different layers, lots of things. So, for me, mountain biking is amazing, but it also is a little bit harder to connect with nature in a biking setting than maybe paddling down a river or hiking down a trail.
Agreed.
For, obvious reasons. But
It's not very leisurely.
yeah, well, it's
Can
and
be.
even if it's at a slow pace, you are hyper focused
Yes.
on what you're doing, and that's a whole.
You don't want to
level.
run to that tree.
Those aren't just and those aren't just bad things. Those are really good things. There's a lot of really good things about that too. But what I'm saying is there's a lot of different layers of different activity types and stuff. But that's the youth, and the youth. It started when we started was ambitions to create our own community, right? I mean, and we still have that ambition. I mean, our mission on our youth side is that we want to be a definition of a student. And by that, I mean, we want to be a part of the way they define themselves.
Wow.
Yeah.
No different. Again, back to the Boy Scout Girl Scout. That is a definition trait that a lot of our generation had.
Yeah.
I was a scout, right? Or I'm a scout. Right. I am an architect. I'm a scout. I'm an entrepreneur. And so that's a goal of ours, is that we want to be such a big part of lives for such an elongated period of time. And that's an important thing with youth too, is that our again, talking about 3 buckets, the single ticket sales, the youth, and the corporate. Single ticket sales, we have a really hard time making an impact physically and mentally like we want. That's our goals, and
that's more of an experience, fun day out.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not likely to happen frequent enough for us to actually make what we would call a real drastic impact. Now, it can make an impact that they go do that on their own, and that's a huge win. But for us, the youth has the impact, or has the potential of creating a very lasting impact. And so. So we started with that mission of kind of doing it from that perspective. And to be honest, now it's like, I mean, one of the greatest relationships we have is we do 60 kids, like this summer, or this past spring even, is better numbers. We did 60 kids a week in after school programming at the Boys and Girls Club.
Okay.
And that was funded by a local foundation that I think you'd love to call it out. I mean, the Hatch Foundation.
Do it.
Was,
Yes.
I mean, it
great,
was just
great foundation, though.
Oh my gosh. And it was just, that is one of our key metrics that we never got to really explore was, when we talk about the outdoors should be for all, one we never really get to hit as much as we'd like is the price tags.
Right.
We're a small business. We cannot do this, but that level, that kind of support allows us to work with kids that, it's amazing.
And the Boys and Girls Club
I
too.
hate to interject here,
amazing.
but we got to wrap
I
up
know
here
we
shortly.
do.
So.
But so what you're doing with the Boys and Girls Club, though, I love that you're doing that. Brandy Harris is so cool.
Fast forward there. I mean, that concept is that we used to do run that, but the idea is that we really focus a lot on kind of working with existing groups. We run a lot of Springfield Public Schools programs.
Right.
We run a lot of these different things. So, and then the third tier is on the corporate side of things, and that's really where we've had an amazing amount of success,
and it's much needed.
Yeah, and it's I'm tired, and I think a lot of people are tired of just going and opening a tab at the bar and saying happy hour on me, and that's your corporate social experience.
Thank you.
And that is just not enough.
That's your team
there
building.
Are some, and I'm not talking bad about an experience like a Top Golf or like those things. All those are great options in a lot of ways.
Right.
But really where my head's at is I just think it's incredible to be able to focus on like those kind of more mental health, physical health, beneficial things that are a little bit more, and the conversations we're having on the corporate side of things, and it's everything from a small group of 5 people to we took out 4 of us, 250 people.
Holy smokes. Where'd you guys go? What'd you do with that many people, man?
We went to 2 rivers and we had an amazing home base there on the river.
Okay.
And then everybody got to choose one activity. It was stand-up paddleboarding, kayaking, hiking, biking, greenway.
With 250 people.
Gosh,
and they all got to choose what they wanted to. And then we had live music and food. And so, but it was...
Please tell me there was more than just you there managing all this.
Oh, bud. That was a long day, wasn't it?
We had like 25 people employed because we had some other things going on.
Oh, I'm sure you had to. But that's where most people, especially during COVID, after COVID, I don't know how many times I got quarantined at home. And we all were isolated from each other. But then after COVID, employers realized it's okay that these people work from home and they're not in the office every single day. They can work from home, come and go as they please almost. We lost a lot of that attachment to each other that we used to have. It was forced upon us, but we still mostly enjoyed people we worked with.
That is absolutely a big part of it, is the focus on that this is in the post-COVID world, you got to find alternative water-cooler conversations.
Yes.
Because you got to engage with humans on a work level, or you're just not going to be engaged enough to be good coworkers.
Right.
But even more so, I think what we focus on is that the conversation I'm having with large, and we have amazing accounts with amazing partnership account with Cox Health, amazing partnership with Walmart.
Oh,
these are, so big
Good
partnerships that we're doing things with almost the entirety of their staff.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
But what I'm saying is that actually the conversations that we're having with them is not even just about this is something nice to do for your employees or this is good for engagement. It is retention and attraction.
Exactly.
And that goes back to that whole studying younger generations at my time with National Geographic. That has really shined to this idea that we're not going to compete as a community.
Right.
We're already in, I'll state it. I've stated it to a lot of people here. Springfield's losing to Northwest Arkansas. So sadly, because there's so much opportunity. You spoke about it. Northwest Arkansas would kill to have a James River.
Oh,
Just putting it out there. They would absolutely kill to have
with
their
all the put-ins and
location
take-outs.
putting right there and move, and we do nothing with it as a community.
Right.
But anyways, that goes back to what I'm saying is that it is a conversation around you're not going to compete as a community and you're not going to compete as a employer if you do not focus on the things that these younger generations are carrying out.
Absolutely.
And I put myself in that. Like I would way, way more value a company that cares about me in that capacity than somebody who's just going to give me formal raises annually.
Yeah. And do a Christmas party every once in a while, things like that. This is like you're attaching people to each other through nature.
So the conversations we're having
retention.
Are literally around employee retention. This should be something that you're presenting in interviews. This is something that it should help with your engagement, longevity.
And eventually,
Health, that's one of our big missions of
that
is that keeping people for longer time because of the cost it takes for turnover. And turnover has never been higher.
And also being competitive in hiring people too, and having those little one-offs that give people those opportunities to not just be in the office all the time.
And that's where we stand now. But I mean, our goals on the corporate side, I mean, we are having conversations not only with the healthcare like Cox Health, but also with the insurance side of things. I mean, our goals are to literally play a role in proactive medicine, social prescribing.
Good.
This incredibly high, just incredibly large goals and aspirations with those partnerships that are not so that you truly can. I don't know. I'm just very passionate about the idea that this is an economic thing.
Right.
This is an economic decision as a community, as an organization to choose that kind of stuff. It is not just the well-being, and that's fine. When you speak to employers, they're employers. They wouldn't be an employer if they don't look at the profit margins, right? And that's what they care about. And that's not that we cannot argue that that's what they're going to care about in the end, right? And so having the ability to change the conversation around, yes, this is amazing for this engagement, but how does that translate to a financial benefit?
Right.
And that's where we're trying to work towards, is that these corporate programs that we do. I mean, Cox Health, we do with the extensions of the Meyer Center 4 days a week.
Wow.
Programming 3 or 4 days a week. Every single team within the Cox gets a leadership outing.
Wow.
A full day outing. Same with very similar concepts with our Walmart partnership.
Oh my gosh,
tangible things that we can start
especially
to
the
collect this data
executives
on.
and stuff like that, because they'll go out there and they'll talk shop, and they could probably figure out more being in that setting than they could just being in a boardroom.
Well, and I didn't even get to talk about this, and I know we need to wrap up,
Yeah,
but
but
I
you're
mean,
fine.
what I'm getting at is it's a lot of people, again, so a lot of our conversations are just around, yes, this is an alternative happy hour. Yes, and that's a win.
It's a
if
great
you're
thing.
choosing to do that instead of just going to, but what we're really doing, for example, we took out a group of 40 executives from a group called Nielsen IQ 2 weeks ago. Executives from all over the country, their headquarters in Northwest Arkansas. We brought them and we did a really fun, very simple topo map reading session, just enough to get your hands wet.
Right.
And just get your feet wet. And then we presented them in small groups with maps, and they had an adult scavenger hunt and small teams.
But doing it with wayfinding.
But they had
Pretty
to
much.
kind of apply that together.
Yeah.
We gave them 30 minutes to strategize how they're going to go about it. And then when we came back, we had a really long, deep debrief. How does that translate to your work environment?
I love
Think
that.
about the things that you can do in that. You worked with 4 people you might not normally work with.
Yep.
What did you see in somebody that you didn't know that they had?
Right.
Did you underutilize people? If you would do it again, could you be more efficient? I mean, we had really deep dives, and that was only one morning that we spent with them.
But
And
so
that's
many
where
things
we're
were
getting with these
found,
bigger. Yeah, so kind of we're trying to use the outdoors, not just something to do for fun. But as something that is like true team building, true leadership development. These experiences and these curation of these experiences can translate really well to that.
Oh my gosh.
And help facilitate these things that getting people outside of that working
Oh
environment.
man, I can only imagine the conversations that happen at the water cooler though the next week when everybody's there and they start talking about this experience, and I'm sure that everybody's going to love it moving forward. So with us moving forward with you want to focus more with the youth. I mean, I'm sure the first pillar of your single ticket sales is still something that you guys want to do, obviously, because they're super fun.
And it serves up purposes.
Yeah.
Somebody can come alone. And
Yeah.
that is like the core bearing of everything we means to us is that we want to be the role of something you can come to feel, whether it's you don't feel safe or you don't want to do it alone. It's not about safety. You just have no desire to do it alone.
Right.
Or you want to see a new place and you don't want to dig through all the planning efforts. That is that is that aspect of the mission.
Right. But then you've also got the kids, and then you've got corporations too. So any corporations or anybody that works in an office, which you probably are watching Facebook right now if you are in an office, but you got to talk to your managers about this, because this is team building on steroids to me. This isn't going to Andy B's. This isn't going to Top Golf. This is fully immersive experience where you pretty much put your cell phone away, your laptop away, and you're really connecting with people.
Yeah, and there's some of these where we'll do them, monthly for an extended period of time and build upon.
Oh,
those.
even better.
So every one of our corporate relationships are different, but it's the bare minimum of just an alternative happy hour all the way up to like super deep conversations around functionality within how these experiences can relate and influence the experience within your organization.
Alternative happy hour. I'm going to take that to
I like
Central
that.
Bank for us, and we'll see what we can do to get some Central Bank people out in the woods. Some of them I might leave out there, but we'll make sure that y'all get home safely. But Danny, thank you so much for being here. I told you it flies by, man. That was like 50 minutes pretty much. So we appreciate you being here. Anytime you're in Springfield on your day in Springfield, come by and see us, or we need to do this again if you've got something other that you have an announcement for. We need to talk more about your race that you started, which is super cool. I've actually heard people talking about that around town. So,
Expedition Ozarks is exciting, and it's got a whole lot. Yeah, it could be its own little thing.
Expedition Ozarks. Look it up, guys. How do you find 37 North Expeditions?
Yeah, 37northexpeditions.com. Great website. We really do spend a lot of time on trying to just dump as much information on that as we humanly can, because we want everybody to know what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah.
We never want it to be an unknown or a concern in that capacity. And then we have I think we have a really strong presence on Facebook.
Yeah, your Facebook page is amazing, man.
Yeah.
You guys, if you guys follow his page, you'll get the updates on the announcements of what is going to happen this weekend or next weekend or planned events. I mean, you've got horses and wineries and things like that it's so unique that we're super excited that you're now a fan of our show and friend of our show, and we really appreciate you being here. So everybody go check it out on Facebook, Instagram, I'm sure all that, and the website. So Danny, come back anytime, man. We love what you're doing, man. And we need to come visit you in Rogers sometime when I'm down.
Oh, definitely.
I went to go meet Tim Ernst at his gallery. I'm sure you know who Tim Ernst is. He's been on the show a couple times now. So, so we've got a good core group of people around us, and it's going to help us keep exploring. But everybody else, keep exploring the Ozarks. Thanks again for listening to Exploring the Ozarks. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our social media channels to help us keep exploring the stories of the Ozarks. If you're looking for more ways to support our show, we have sponsorships for businesses and Patreon for individual supporters. Check the links in the description for more details. Thanks for your support, and keep exploring the Ozarks.